It's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Earlier today, they held the kickoff press conference for what is the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight. And we all know, on the undercard, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano are going to be running it back. They're going to be fighting for the second time. A fully hydrated Amanda Serrano.
Remember, this fight is at 140 pounds for all the belts Katie Taylor lifted off of Chantel Cameron.
This will be Katie Taylor's fourth fight at that weight, her fourth fight at 140 pounds. Her first was against then-champion Christina Linardatu for the WBA title. The last two were against Chantel Cameron, and this one with Amanda, this is going to be the fourth. Whereas for Amanda, this will be only the second time she's fought that high, fought at that weight. The first was many, many years ago in 2018 when she faced Yamila Reynoso for the vacant WBO title. She hasn't been back up there since.
Is this good or bad?
The argument is definitely there that Katie may be more acclimated to this weight than Amanda because her last two fights took place here.
Katie's more acclimated.
But I wouldn't say it's a bad thing for Amanda Serrano either, that she doesn't have to boil down to 126 for her next fight, that she can actually eat.
Remember what happened in the first one.
It's not a question of whether or not Amanda Serrano's power carries from 126 up to 135. We know that it does because we saw her hurt Katie Taylor. We saw her come very close to knocking her out, and that was at 135. This fight is at 140.
Katie's 38. Amanda's 35.
The fight between them, I know it doesn't feel like it, but that was 2 years ago. So while Katie Taylor may be more acclimated to this weight than Amanda because her last two fights were there, you have to figure that at 38 years old, whether she likes it or not, she is going to start slowing down.
Father Time catches up to everybody.
It's just something to think about, that when they first fought, Katie was something like 36 years old. Now she's 38, that much closer to 40, at a higher weight. Her speed ain't going to be everything that it was.
Her speed's been a bread and butter.
For years, those fast combinations, those fast flurries, flustering fighters mid-range to inside. With Amanda, however,
Fighting in the pocket was not a good idea. It still isn't a good idea now.
Katie Taylor fought 2 times last year, 2 times. Once in May, then again in November. In that way, she has seen action within the last 12 months. Though she hasn't had it easy in the last 12 months. No, her last 2 fights were the Chantel Cameron fights, the one she lost and the one she won. But those were not easy fights for an aging fighter. Those were physically taxing fights. Katie got hit a lot.
What are you saying?
That Katie might lose. What I've been saying, that under these circumstances, it's possible Katie loses the rematch. She could lose this thing, and it might turn into a trilogy as a result. Katie saw action 2 times last year, in May, then November. Amanda Serrano saw action 3 times. Once in February, again in August, then again in October.
The Danilo Ramos fight.
Danilo Ramos was able to go the distance with Amanda Serrano by staying on her toes, beating those feet, and moving around. That's what Katie Taylor has to do. She can't afford to get into a shootout with Amanda at this age under these circumstances. She's got to move her legs. The problem is, those are 38-year-old legs she's standing on.
Tack on that Katie Taylor loves a tear-up. She actually likes getting into exchanges.
She must. Her propensity to end up trading with her opponents where she doesn't have to, where she has the option of moving around, and tack on that Amanda Serrano's a body puncher, and I suspect that in this fight, she's going to make a concentrated effort to go to the body to take Katie's legs away.
If she does?
If she does, they won't be there to bail her out, to avail her in the latter stages of a match, like what we saw in their first fight. I'm a fan of both. In many ways, Katie Taylor is who got me started on watching women's boxing, women in sport, and Amanda's grown on me over time.
I can wholeheartedly say she's one of the best to ever do it.
But when I look at this situation, I see a situation where Amanda might win, and in effect, become a 2-time undisputed champion. That would allow her to usurp Katie Taylor for that #1 spot on the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list.
Based on her body of work so far, being an undisputed champion at featherweight and having already been a champion at 7 weights, the scalp of Katie Taylor, if she can scalp her, you tell me who's got a better scalp than that.
That is, who would have a better scalp than that is equally as accomplished as Amanda. She wins that fight. She's #1. #1 pound-for-pound, #1 in the sport on the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list. It's really not a hard decision to make because she's already in position at #2. She beats Katie, she's #1.
We'll see if she can. Very soon.
Carlos Adames, where are you? Let's fight. I'm waiting. Sign contract.
Guy sounds like a serial killer.
That is a very much emboldened, unified middleweight champion, Janibek Alimkhanuly, who's calling out Carlos Adames. It used to be Carlos calling out Janibek. Now it's the other way around because Carlos has something that Janibek wants, and we all know what it is. It's his WBC title, his newly obtained WBC title after being elevated to full champion. Janibek took to his Twitter and said, "Carlos Adames, I hope you will have an answer on Monday. If you are not a coward, then sign the contract that's on your table." You all saw, yes, that he disappeared from Twitter, but he's active on Instagram. Do you know why he disappeared from Twitter? Because he has nothing to say. He asked for a contract. I gave him a contract. Now what? Come on, sign the contract. Are you a champion or what? Carlos Adames.
He's persistent.
If a man said something, then he must be held accountable for his words. Don't be a coward. Come on. Agree to fight Adames. If you refuse, it will always haunt you. I told you. I'm your nightmare now.
What I can't say is that I don't notice a change in the energy from Carlos, because it used to be Carlos saying this and that to Janibek on this same platform. On Twitter, it used to be Carlos, now it's Janibek.
Is Carlos not that interested in fighting Janibek anymore? Carlos, who said, "You were a clown. You make up a show so fans think you really want to fight. Why don't you tell them the truth? You have a signed fight. We all know I have a compromise on the 15th of June. I recommend you subscribe to Amazon Pay-Per-View and enjoy my fight." The fight that he's referring to is the one that we talked about a few days ago, the Terrell Gausha fight, and I said it then. The speed at which they made that fight, in tandem with the announcement that Carlos would be full champion moving forward, it's almost like those two things.
You know what it could be? They were already working on the Terrell Gausha fight. They were already working on it. And then Jamal got himself in trouble again, and that was the last straw.
The straw that broke the camel's back, the straw that finally made the WBC decide to take that title from him and give it to Carlos, because Carlos is about to fight and Charlo isn't. Charlo's got another kind of fight, other kinds of fights he needs to worry about. Court battles.
Worry about that.
Just seems like those things happen parallel to each other. Scheduling Carlos Adames' next fight in time for him to defend his WBC title, because that's what the Gausha fight would be, his first official defense of the newly obtained WBC title.
They both have title defenses coming up. It's not just Carlos, it's Janibek too. We talked about how he's got to defend his title against his mandatory challenger, Mikhailiovic.
The way I see it, it's better this way, because Carlos hasn't fought in a while, and you want him to be in tip-top shape when it is time to fight Janibek. You want the very best version of the fighter on the night, because it'll make the fight that much better, more entertaining, more intriguing. So I'm actually okay with Carlos fighting Terrell Gausha ahead of what could be a Janibek fight, though I think the ball is in Janibek and Top Rank's court to make this fight happen, because we know the PBC.
They ain't got no fucking money.
If they did, do you think so many of their fighters would be signing to other promotional outfits, like Michelle Rivera signing to Dimitri Salita, Subriel Matias and Jaron Boots Ennis signing to Matchroom?
And all those fighters fighting on the August show.
No, they didn't sign to Matchroom, but do you think they would be there if the PBC had use for them? Do you think they'd be fighting on a Matchroom show on DAZN if the PBC actually had plans or money?
A fight date?
No, they wouldn't. You know they wouldn't, because when they did have an annual budget, the last thing they would do is outsource that many of their fighters all at once.
No way.
Get back to the point. The ball is in Janibek Alimkhanuly and Top Rank's court to make a Carlos Adames fight happen if he stays champion, if he beats Terrell Gausha, because it's not like they have to worry about paying Tyson Fury. Whatever that was costing them, it's not costing them anything now, because they're not the ones paying him. Turkey Al-Sheikh is paying him.
Right.
So you're saving money there. Very soon, Shakur Stevenson, who is costing you $3 million per fight due to his contract minimum. $3 million per fight. That's $6 million per year just to pay that one fighter. He's courting free agency. He wants to leave. That saves you more money that you can reallocate towards making other fights for other fighters that aren't complaining about you.
It's actually more than $6 million per year.
It is, because, well, you're not just paying him, you also got to put up the money for his opponents, whoever they are, and to decorate the card, to do the show. I don't think it costs as much to do a Janibek fight as it was costing you to do a Stevenson fight.
That's why the ball is in their court to do it.
Tyson Fury's last fight wasn't on your dime. The Saudis paid for that, and the Saudis are paying for this.
This weekend's fight.
So Top Rank's money ain't all tied up trying to make Tyson Fury fights. Very soon, they won't have to make Stevenson fights either, so you'll have the money to make other fights for other fighters like Janibek. Like Janibek versus Adames. When it comes to Adames, hey, you beat Terrell Gausha.
You are out of excuses, my friend.
All out of excuses. Not even sides of the street is going to work, because how many PBC fighters are we now seeing on the DAZN side of the street?
So you can't go to Top Rank?
When the time comes, I'm giving him amnesty. I'm giving him amnesty for now. But if he beats Terrell Gausha and he stays champion, there's no reason you can't go over to Top Rank. There's no reason, absolutely none, that you can't go over there right now, because bipartisanship in the sport of boxing on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean, it's all the rage right now. So you said you wanted a Janibek fight. Up until this point, you've been prattling on about how you want to get that guy in the ring. You may yet get your chance, but you both have to hold up your end of the bargain. Top Rank, you gotta put up the money.
You have to pay to play.
Carlos, you gotta keep the same energy. Or is it that you now have a title? You now have something to lose. You don't want to roll the dice as much as you used to.
Would you rather fight an aging Arislandi Lara for peanuts on a dollar? I mean, I'm not against it. It has to happen.
He is WBA champion, so somebody has to deal with him. Carlos or Janibek, though I would think if you're Carlos, the Janibek fight pays better. So if you pursue Lara...
You playing it safe?
Cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's not make any bold presuppositions just yet. Carlos has got to beat Terrell Gausha. Janibek has got to beat his mandatory challenger. If they both take care of business on this schedule, there's still plenty of time for them to meet up later on in the year. Let's hope that they do. And finally, it's fight week. It's finally here. The Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk undisputed heavyweight title fight. In reference to it, Farrell Crotch, the Cobra, said, "I'm not sure if Fury coming in light is a good thing. To be honest, he's eating more healthily and the weight's just falling off, so maybe the nutritionist needs to step it down and say, get some protein down in you. He needs to be bulking up muscle."
Where former undisputed heavyweight champion and fellow Brit Lennox Lewis is backing Fury to win, there's more of an air of concern.
It doesn't feel like Carl Froch is towing the line. No, he's not towing the line for his fellow Brit. George Groves, his contemporary, he's not towing it either. He says, "I've said from the start, I'll believe the fight happens when I see it."
Why?
I don't think Fury has ever fancied the Usyk fight. I bet Fury would rather have a bit of Anthony Joshua than Usyk, because he'll see that as an easier fight. Well, the Usyk fight is here.
It's almost here.
I understand George Groves' skepticism, because many of us thought we might not get here. I actually held off on buying the pay-per-view. I'm still holding off on buying it until Friday.
Just to be on the safe side, because this is Tyson Fury we're talking about.
Reference to the fight, veteran matchroom impresario Eddie Hearn said, "I'm not sure about Fury's chin now, but he's shown a good chin in the past. I didn't like the Ngannou knockdown, but luckily for him, Usyk isn't a big puncher."
No, he's not big on power, but he is big on movement. He is big on cardio.
That's a special effect. That's a power unto itself. Several months ago, late last year, Big John Fury, Tyson Fury's father, said, "The style I am seeing is no good. The style Tyson has right now, he wouldn't have beaten Vladimir Klitschko with that. Alexander Usyk is a tricky man. You have to be on your best to beat him. The style he's got now won't do the trick."
This was from late last year, right after the Ngannou fight. That embarrassment.
That's how Big John Fury was feeling several months ago. Several months later, he's picking fights with members of Usyk's team, headbutting little people, effectively picking his battles, because he ain't stupid.
He's on edge.
The louder he yells and the more he lashes out, the more he gets across that he's on edge, that he may be afraid his son is about to lose. As far as his son, as far as Tyson Fury, he said, "I'm putting Usyk as the best man I've ever fought. Better than Vladimir Klitschko, better than Deontay Wilder, better than them all. Two-time, two-weight world champion and an Olympic gold medalist. I've been very impressed with all the stuff he's done. He boxed the head off Anthony Joshua, who was supposed to be a killer. He's done a good job with all the people he's fought." This is a very different tune from the one that he's been singing for weeks, for months, even years. He called Usyk a little rabbit, a middleweight.
He talked him down.
I'm not even holding that against him. I'm just highlighting that he's now singing a different tune to the one that he's been singing consistently. This is different. Oh, now you want to talk him up.
Why? Because you're about to fight him?
Is it so that you get extra credit if you win, or is it so people aren't too hard on you if you lose? By now we all know that Tyson Fury, he's a chronic flip-flopper. Today he says this, and tomorrow he says that. He's a notoriously hard guy to take at his word. So if I had to guess what this really is and what this really means, is that he's feeling the pressure. Because there is pressure. This is a big fight, a very big fight, a historic fight. And I don't think Tyson Fury ever wanted this, but they're offering him so much money to do it, how could he not do it? There are no alternatives.
You still got Usyk winning a fight?
If history is any indicator of things to come, Tyson Fury struggles most with fighters that are smaller than him, not as tall, eye level to him, because that makes for a bigger target that he can outmaneuver.
Where maneuvering is what Usyk is all about. I don't think for a second Fury maneuvers better than Usyk. He maneuvers better than big, slow guys, but not this one.
You think he lost all of that weight for no reason? He lost all of that weight so that he can maneuver better, because he plans on moving and punching and boxing this guy, making the smaller man come to him so he can walk him into a shot.
That's why he lost the weight.
He still has a size advantage over Alexander Usyk, but so did Anthony Joshua. So did Daniel Dubois. He endured. He took their punches. I think he can take Fury's, especially if Fury is on his toes, fighting on the balls of his feet, and not sitting on his punches.
Neither one of these two guys have been all that busy in the last 2 years. Neither one of the two has been keeping the busiest schedule, neither Fury or Usyk. What separates them is Usyk doesn't have a drug and alcohol problem. He doesn't treat his nose and abuse his body like Fury does.
May be a little older than Tyson Fury, but I think he's more well-preserved because he's a more consummate professional. Two things stand out. That Tyson Fury characteristically struggles with shorter, smaller fighters, shorter, smaller targets, and he struggles with southpaws, like he struggled with Otto Wallin, who sliced up his face.
I've never seen Otto Wallin be that aggressive in a match. It really is an isolated incident, because most of the time, Otto's on his toes and he's boxing.
Got really aggressive with Tyson Fury. Took his punches, took his power. He couldn't take Anthony's power, though.
You know who did?
Alexander Usyk. That's who. Took Anthony's power for 2 fights, 24 rounds.
Isn't that a triangle theory?
No, because Anthony Joshua is not a common opponent between Tyson Fury and himself. And I'm gauging their power. I think Anthony is a bigger puncher than Fury. So if Usyk was able to take Anthony's power for 24 rounds, I think he can take Fury's. Especially if Fury's going to be on the fly, on his toes.
You think AJ's a bigger puncher than Fury and Daniel Dubois?
I'm not too worried about Usyk's durability. I think he's durable.
And I think he's going to win.